Hello, my name is John Reynolds and welcome to Extraordinary Life Stories. On this episode, I'm talking with Trent Scanlen. Trent is an Australian entrepreneur, a martial artist, chairman of Reorg Charity, father of three, a bioscientist and a cancer survivor. After studying business, he rapidly rose through the corporate world until a cancer diagnosis in his early 30s changed his trajectory. Whilst taking a year out of the fast lane for chemotherapy and radiation, he wrote a business plan with his doctor that is now Kirk, a small company with a big mission, helping people manage pain and inflammation naturally. I'm really looking forward to my conversation with Trent. Trent, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, great to be here, John.
Cool. Tell me, who's Trent Scanlen?
Well, I grew up on the beaches of Australia, surfing. As a child, thought I wanted to be a professional surfer.
What are you doing here?
Mate, the waves of London have let me down. So fast forward to a business degree and then came over to UK to have a look at a career and travel the world and ended up making a career in health.
Awesome, well done. Take me back to that young Trent surfing, visualizing life. What were the early influences and kind of career decisions that shaped what you've ultimately done?
Well, I think an active lifestyle is something that I was always brought up around. So we were riding bikes down the beaches, surfing, kicking balls. I was a lifeguard from 5 to 19. It was just a very active lifestyle.
Yeah.
So bringing that to London in these winters was always a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, I struggle with that.
Yeah.
As an Englishman who's actually grew up surfing in places like Cornwall in full wetsuit and then going abroad. Actually, was lucky enough to go to Hawaii when I was 15, 16. I was like, this is it. We're trying to get to Spain and other places that are a bit easier in reach, but it's a struggle. And actually, looking at you now, you're fighting fit, physically fit. So you've kept that going all the way through your life? Has that been a constant?
No, so I got derailed in business. So obviously was traveling internationally for a big optical company, Specsavers, great company. And so I got swept up in career and late nights and a lot of travel and a lot of fine dining. So lost the health for a few years a little bit.
Fine dining with alcohol?
Fine dining, a lot of alcohol and a lot of desserts too, John, which tend to have an effect. So I lost a little bit, and that was in London, I think, because of the winters and just, it was one of those things I got swept up in and didn't prioritize health or training.
Interesting, because at that time, though, you're sort of ultimately flying in business. There's a whole stigma almost that goes with being successful in business, and actually that kind of early rising, get up at 4 a.m, smash out a run, read a book. Did you conform to that? Because there is a pressure. I know this from my own business kind of dealings where you're out for kind of breakfast, lunch and dinner and you're trying to keep fit. You're trying to work on it. Did you have that morning routine alongside what you're doing, or did that get kind of swept to the side as well?
Yeah, that got swept aside because my identity then was success in corporate. I want to climb that ladder. I got bigger teams, bigger budgets, tackle tougher challenges, and that became the focus. And a lot of the times that combined with London winters, I just stopped really even lifting weights or doing any form of martial arts. So I had about 5 or 6 years of a little bit of a quagmire of health.
Yeah. And just to flip to almost parallel that, if you kind of lost the momentum with the physical health, mental health goes hand in hand with mental fitness. So as a kind of successful person in business, were you reading? Were you spending time on meditation? Were you spending any time on that? And do you prioritize that now?
Well, I was always a big reader, but I didn't prioritize any health at that stage.
It's just relentless work.
It was relentless work for a company that I really liked, and it was innovation in eye health. So it had a purpose of trying to make people have a better outcomes, whether it be blindness in some African countries or just early detection of some eye issues. And I was fascinated by it. So the identity became, I've got to get up in the morning, I'm checking emails, is back to the Blackberries, that blinking red light. And it was just go as soon as I wake up to as soon as I'd go to sleep.
So what changed? So from that person that was clearly enjoying what they were doing and getting stimulation from learning and helping people, and dare I say, being successful at the same time, what it was a catalyst that changed?
Yeah, good question. So basically I rose to a board level position in corporate, which was always the goal, and met my best friend who's a medical doctor, and we're sitting around in a boardroom one day. It was a pretty tough meeting. There was a lot of stuff going down, and he texted me from across the room and said, "Look around everyone at this table. Is there anyone you want to be like in 10 years?" And I was the youngest by about 10 years at that stage. And
How old are you at that point?
Early 30s. And I looked around and I admired these men. I liked these men, but I could sort of see that he knew I was in the wrong seat. And oddly enough, that was right at a time I got back into martial arts, started doing a lot of training. And then I developed a back injury, which then pivoted my whole life.
So around this time as well was also when you got diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
How did you find out you ultimately had cancer?
It was weird. I had no other symptom, just persistent back pain. But I was doing a lot of Muay Thai, a lot of MMA, a lot of jiu-jitsu, and I just thought I'd herniated a disc.
Yeah. So you kept pushing on?
Yeah, I kept pushing on because I was also getting fit and active again. And then the mental health felt really good. I'm learning new skills. I'm traveling the world still with work, but I'm jumping into gyms now.
Yeah.
I've got off the booze, got off the heavy sort of eating, and I was in shape. So I remembered when the back pain first started, I was like, a herniated disc will set me back, right? So I would have to stop training, but I developed this momentum. So I didn't get it checked out. And, I've mentioned to my best friend a few times I was taking a lot of painkillers. And then one time I mentioned to him, I woke up last night with the pain. And he was flagging. He was like, okay, you need to go and get an MRI.
Yeah, good advice.
Yeah, oddly enough, he was riding up Mount Fuji in Tokyo at the time. Well, we had this conversation the morning after. So I went and got an MRI, thought I knew what the outcome would be. And then halfway through the MRI, the radiologist pulled me out and then said, I need to inject this trace into your vein. And I knew everything changed then because he'd never talked about that. And I'd had loads of MRIs through rugby and all sorts of injuries. And as he slid me back in with all the noise of MRI, I just thought, I've got cancer. It was just a moment of clarity. And then when he slid me back out, I said, oh, okay, when do I get the results? And he said, oh, we're going to send them to your GP. I said, oh, he's over in Tokyo at the moment. I just spoke with him. He goes, no, your local GP, we want you to go there right now.
You knew it was ours.
Yeah. Of course, it was pretty clear something big had happened.
Where did you go at that point? Because you were clearly in a kind of momentum stage of your life, naturally driven and so on. That can derail a lot of people emotionally.
Yeah.
Where did you go?
Yeah, I went to the first few hours was a bit of a blur. I go to the GP. As I turn up, they said, "Oh, he's waiting for you in a room." This never happens. I go in there. He sort of says, "Look, we've got a golf ball sized tumor on the base of your spine. So we need to really have a look at that and
no wonder you were in pain.
Yeah. I was like golf ball size and all I heard was spine. I was like, oh, there's a fear.
Yeah.
So he sort of checked me over and then admitted me into a cancer ward that night at the hospital. I still hadn't told my parents. I still hadn't told anyone. This is probably a 3-hour zone. So I'm calling Harry. It's up Mount Fuji. And as I get admitted into this cancer ward, he called back and I told him what happened. He goes, okay, look, chances are it's benign. You haven't lost any weight. Your strength's good. Let's just sort of see what they say. And I remember sitting in that ward and I could hear people coughing, like really sick people, and I felt fine. All I had was a sore back.
Sure.
And so then I did a little life audit, which is probably the biggest, well, maybe the most momentous part of my life, where I just went through, am I happy with what I've done, if this is the end? Am I happy with my relationships? And at that stage I had a 2-year-old son. So I was like, okay, I've got a sire, I've got a purpose there. I traveled the world. I was happy with my ethics. I was happy with all of my friendships and my career. And that moment gave me a lot of clarity because I gave myself, I remember, I was thinking, what scorecard would I give myself? And it was an A-. It was pretty good, but could have done better.
Yeah.
Back to school.
it's almost like there are so many people that in this kind of scenario with yourself really proves that you kind of have something really quite traumatic or serious happen to you, and it almost wakes you up. You did that evaluation, and I think A- is most people would take that, right? But you're now thinking, well, if I can come through this, I'm gonna surge. I'm gonna make even more of a difference. I'm gonna have certain goals, maybe a different purpose. But why do we need something quite so dramatic as that, to almost be facing death?
Yeah.
To come alive?
I think it's a common thing, and we all say health is wealth, and the most important thing is your health. We all say it, but it's platitude. Until you have that turning point.
Yeah.
And I see it. I now own a gym as one of our businesses, where we sometimes get people coming in saying, the doctor told me if I want to see my son at 21, I've got to change something. And we'll introduce them with a bit of boxing, a bit of jiu-jitsu, a bit of strength, just something, and find out where their interest is. But until you get that inflection point, a lot of the times we just ride our bodies until something falls off.
Yeah, and just roll through life.
Yep.
Did you come out of that stage of your life really energized and full of purpose? Because it just feels like that reset has put you in a position where you're fully present now. There's just so much. There's a twinkle in your eye. You've got things you're already doing, already achieving, and things you want to make happen. Do you think you'd be that same person if you hadn't had that happen to you?
I think I've always had a drive, and then my purpose changed. My drive was to go really well in corporate and run big teams and make a big impact. But now my drive was my health, and the ultimate motivator is to stay alive.
Yeah.
So myself and my best friend, Dr. Harry, we developed a plan for chemo, because that was my next challenge. All I knew about chemotherapy was Breaking Bad. And it didn't look good, right?
And you came up with this during that year of overcoming cancer, didn't you? So
it took a year out. So we got the chemo schedule, and it was every 3 weeks, 6 cycles. And it's an intense thing. I won't labor the details, but you go in for 8 hours and they're just mainlining different bags of basically poison to kill every cell in your body, to kill the cancer cell and hope it doesn't regrow.
Sure.
So there was a mindset needed for that, but then you'd have massive sort of issues of, the body just doesn't like poison. So I started chemo 1 with 14 different drugs. So there'll be prednisolone, which is a corticosteroid. There'll be all these things, something for nausea, something to sleep, something to offset the nausea and sleep. And it was like a massive, big prescription regime, which we did. And then my purpose changed, because I was like, okay, I want to do chemo and I want to do it better, and I don't want to lose 1 kilo of body weight, which was almost unheard of. But my focus at that time was, okay, my health, and because I lost my health for a few years, I don't want to lose it through this. So with Dr. Harry, we came up with a regime, and slowly we were able to take some of these drugs off the system and replace them. We've done a lot of stuff with plant compounds, some legal, some illegal at the time. Obviously, everyone knows what, and when you have cancer, nothing's off the table. But I also had a physical regime, and one of the issues with chemotherapy is you don't have any immune system. It just kills your immune system. So you can't really meet your friends, and if someone brings a common cold, that could develop into pneumonia and kill you. So you got a social isolation, you've got physical, exhaustion, because you're really tired. You lose your hair, and I've never grown my hair back from that. I've purposely kept that as a little symbol. But what I started developing with Harry, I was doing a lot of body weight stuff, and then I was saying I miss weights. And then there was a 24-hour gym just across the road from me. So I ended up calling the owners, and they told me that, at 4:30 in the morning, the cleaners will come and clean the back of the gym forward. And I chatted to them, told them about my predicament, said, can I get in there as the cleaners have cleaned some equipment so I know it is clean and I can use the weights and use the compound lift. And so I did that 3 times a week, 4:30 in the morning. And the cleaners knew, they were all really cool. They'd give us a nod. And so I'd go in and just lift weights. And that gave me a sense of normalcy. It also, I think it helped my appetite, and it just sort of helped me keep my identity while I had to
And
go through these cycles.
Keep you
Definitely. The mental side of training. Yeah.
So so there was very little time to dwell and play the victim card and so on. You were instantly, relentlessly on it. And actually what I really like about you as well is from the gym, from Kirk, the business you just mentioned, to actually you're the chairman of Reorg.
Yeah.
Love you to tell me what Reorg does and the sort of value of community and connection, because you needed to have that sort of solace, if you like, that solitary time in the gym at that moment in time in your life. But a lot of people can actually get very depressed, very disconnected from not being around people. So a key part of Reorg is jiu-jitsu. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, so look, I'm really honoured to play a really small part in our big mission. So it's led by Sam and sort of Trish runs the fitness stuff. The main thing there was understanding people when they transition out of the military, they get a little bit lost. Yeah. They go back to their hometown. They're used to comrades. They're used to physical fitness. They're used to group training. They're used to that sort of support. And then when they transition out, they usually go back to their hometowns, get a normal job, and then they'll socialize in pubs. And that's a bad drug for them, alcohol, with PTSD, and it's quite sort of commonly documented. So what Reorg is we try to get them, if they're a little bit lost, then we try to reintroduce them into group training. So it started just in jiu-jitsu because, you've got a uniform, you've got a rank structure, you've got this camaraderie in a gym. And now we've transitioned it out into CrossFit as well. It's a similar thing. These are both very hard skills. They require toughness, they require perseverance, and they require a team. And so, military people responded really well to this, and were able to get them when they, fell out of their own mental health or physical health, and we've been able to give them that structure and support, and it's grown rapidly, and we're able to now help first responders. So we have ambulance, we have police, and fire.
Brilliant.
But a lot of the times I've seen parallels with my own journey where I lost the physical fitness, so because of that, the mental health and distraction, but I didn't carry the PTSD and I didn't carry the horrors that some of those have gone through.
I get that. And I've been privileged enough to interview Mark Warnrod, who's a massive supporter of Reorg, and there's some cool people involved, and Tom Hardy's involved. Yeah. Tell me how that came to be in your relationship there.
Yeah, so look, Tom's an incredibly intelligent guy. He's a great training partner as well. So he started training kickboxing and jiu-jitsu. And then Sam, the founder of Reorg, approached Tom to explain what he was doing, and Tom got it straight away. And
fair play.
It was straight away, how can I help? So Tom does a lot of the creative stuff and really sort of helps the team really structure a lot of Reorg as well. Sam runs Reorg. Is the founder and runs the jiu-jitsu side. We've got Trish, a girl that transitioned out of the military to run the fitness. Mm-hmm. And then we've got a small team of 6 of us that sort of oversee the charity and just make sure that we're doing the right
cool
things.
Team. And clearly doing a lot right. And just a question on jiu-jitsu. I keep pretty fit. Mm-hmm. So I try and do a workout in the morning. So if I was looking to come to do jiu-jitsu with you guys, I could almost be a little bit intimidated. I can't touch my toes. I haven't been able to touch my toes for years. I'm being dramatic, but the point is, where do you start with it?
Well, jiu-jitsu is the fastest growing sport in the country for 5 years running, same in the US. And there's a reason. So you go in, and there's lots of schools everywhere. I set up a gym in Richmond, but basically you go in and you'll do a class. You will then know at the end of that class, it is binary. It is, you have 2 people that come at this, and one will say, I never want to do that again. That was horrible. I can't.
So it's proper Marmite.
Yep. And the other one will say, I need to learn this, because no one is good at jiu-jitsu. There's just never been a person alive that gets it straight away. A lot of the times you need to undo your instincts. And so it is a tactical sport. It's also very physically active. You need to be in shape, so to speak. But more of it is technique, and so it's not done on size, which I've done all the fighting sports, and this is the only one where a smaller person can beat a larger person consistently, and so that is because of the technique. Yeah. So what we find in the jiu-jitsu community, people that can persevere have got a different mindset than the people that don't do it, because there's this whole thing of being humble enough to know you're going to lose, and you're going to repeatedly lose until you progress up the ranks and someone new joins and you're better than them. There is no, we get, professional rugby players come in, they're very gifted in some areas, but they will never win.
Interesting.
It's impossible.
I find that fascinating. Actually, just touching on that whole repeatedly lose, there's a parallel in life, isn't there, where embracing failures is talked about a lot now. It's something I've struggled with in context, particularly business, perhaps not trying something because I'm worried about the fact that it might not work or I might, fail at it. What's been your relationship with that? And almost sort of post and pre-cancer, have you found that sort of certainly post, you're like, you know what, screw it, I'm doing it, I'm having it because nothing's going to stop me?
Yeah, I've never been afraid of failure. I'm an entrepreneur. That's my whole life has been doing
ever the optimist.
That. Yeah, ever the optimist, but also physical failure. I'm always keen to push the limits, feel that exhaustion, feel that shame if I haven't performed. I've done a lot of tournaments as well, and tournaments are really stressful because you don't know the other opponent. There's a fair bit on the line. You've got your team you want to represent, and that is the ultimate failure. You step on the mat there and you fear doing something really stupid really early and losing a match embarrassingly. Yeah. And
but
then going back.
The counter is the challenge.
The counter is the challenge, but also something happens in there. And Tom has performed really well in competition. And that guy, the respect he gets from the team, not only just a great training partner, but he performs really well in tournaments as well. And when we go there, every eye is on him. Every phone is out on him, and he still steps in the mat, taps hands, and then goes. And every time he's performed incredibly well. And it's such a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
So he has to face possibilities of failure that will be lit up all around the world. So we don't have that, but everyone feels the pressure.
Yeah.
So it's something quite remarkable.
I find that. And actually, yourself, Tom, you're successful. You're both incredibly humble, clearly, so you don't have to respond to that. You are, but you can't be successful without putting yourself in that place where you may well fail. Sitting here now, how would you define success?
I think success to me is following your purpose. And so my purpose was initially corporate success. Cancer derailed that, and my purpose was health now. So my businesses, I've got a gym, which is like my hobby business. I've got the charity, which is mental health. And I've got a bioscience company, which is really looking at plant compounds. And I wrote the business plan for the bioscience company after round 3 of chemo with my doctor. And I've been able to then make that business work. So my purpose in life now, I've got my charity around the sport I really like. I've got a gym around the sport I really like. I've got 3 boys who I'm training into this, and the oldest helps out in the charity. So my purpose now is everything I thought of when I was going through the toughest part of my life.
Yeah, actually
that is my success.
Fantastic. I mean, congratulations, because you're doing it as well. You're sitting here, you're calm, you're collected, and but it almost feels like you needed that time, and maybe people don't make the time in their busy schedules to have it. You were forced to do it, but then you used that time to reset. And actually, you mentioned your 3 boys. I'm dad of 2 daughters, and how much purpose that gives you being a dad. But just juggling that, you've got a lot on. You kindly made time to talk to me today.
Sure.
But how do you sort of work that balance of dad, husband, and work and life? Time for yourself to do jiu-jitsu and so on.
Yeah, good question. I'm never stopping trying to improve my time management. I'm always
constantly working on it.
Yeah, at the moment I'm doing a lot with LLMs and AIs to try to sort of automate a lot of my admin to give me the contact time with my boys, and obviously time with my teammates training. And that's my sort of mental motivation. And
Sure.
A lot of the times that's the only meditation I get, because I can't think of anything else when I'm competing in jiu-jitsu or training with someone. There is so much going on. We call it human chess because it's not just physically, it's mentally.
So you're thinking way beyond them.
Totally. And then you get off the end of the mats after an hour and a half and the whole world just stops. And then you turn your phone back on and here it is again. And so that to me is not just physical, that's my mental rest. And sleep is the biggest challenge I think we all face, and we're starting to recognize that.
Yeah.
So, myself with my co-founder, his main medical practice now is the longevity movement and precision medicine. So I'm tracking 90 biomarkers and blood work that I review monthly with him to look at my own physical performance, but also as I age, how can I see indicators of issues before they even become issues.
Yeah.
And then I know you've had Jim Mellon, so he's a pioneer in this space. And the whole idea is I want to be as physically active for as long as possible, so stronger for longer.
Yeah.
Because I want to give my 1-year-old son the same daddying as I give my 14-year-old son. So there's this 13-year gap that I'm wrestling with, that I'm trying to use science to mitigate against.
So smart. It's commendable, and I think it goes back to that purpose and that mission, and you're doing it. You look fighting fit. So I mean, I've so enjoyed talking to you. I could talk to you for a lot longer, but that's all we've got time for. But I would love to come to your gym and get into the jiu-jitsu. You've totally sold it to me.
Well, make the commitment.
Will do. Cheers, Trent.
Excellent. Thanks, John.
Thank you.